Somewhere off the coast of Iran, a U.S. Navy destroyer is doing something that, until very recently, existed only in science fiction. As enemy drones streak toward the ship, there is no roar of a missile launch, no stream of gunfire. Instead, a silent, invisible beam of pure light reaches out from the deck, and one by one the drones fall from the sky. This is not a movie. This is not a concept. This is happening right now aboard a real U.S. Navy warship in a real combat zone. The age of the laser weapon has arrived, and the United States Navy is leading it. Today we are going inside a U.S. Navy warship to reveal how these powerful laser weapons actually work, how they have already been used in real combat against enemy drones, and why the Navy's top leaders now believe directed energy could change naval warfare forever. What you are about to learn is not the future. It is the present, and it is already reshaping how the United States fights at sea. Why the Navy needed a new weapon. The drone problem that changed everything. To understand why the U.S. Navy raced to put lasers on its warships, you first have to understand the threat that made them necessary. And it is a threat that has completely upended naval warfare in just the past few years. The problem is the drone. Specifically, cheap, small, one-way attack drones, the kind sometimes called loitering munitions or kamikaze drones. These are inexpensive flying weapons, often costing just tens of thousands of dollars each. A standard Shahed-type drone, of the kind used by Iran and Russia, costs somewhere around $35,000. Here is why that matters so enormously. When a cheap $35,000 drone attacks a U.S. Navy warship, the ship has traditionally defended itself by firing an interceptor missile. But that interceptor missile can cost over $1 million. A single RIM-116 rolling airframe missile, a common close-in defensive weapon, costs roughly $1 million. Think about that math. The enemy launches a $35,000 drone. The ship shoots it down with a $1 million missile. Even when the Navy wins that exchange, it loses economically, badly. And an enemy can build dozens of cheap drones for the price of a single interceptor. Launch enough of them at once, a swarm, and you can potentially overwhelm a ship's defenses through sheer numbers, forcing it to burn through its limited, expensive missiles until it runs dry. This is not a theoretical problem. The U.S. Navy learned it the hard way. During operations in and around the Red Sea over the past few years, Navy warships faced exactly this challenge. Large volumes of drones and missiles fired by hostile forces, forcing the ships to expend enormous quantities of expensive interceptors to defend themselves and the shipping they were protecting. The lesson was stark. The old model, defending against cheap threats with expensive missiles, was not sustainable. The Navy needed a way to shoot down cheap drones with something equally cheap, something that would not run out, something that could keep firing as long as the threats kept coming. The answer was the laser. A weapon that fires a beam of concentrated light, costs almost nothing per shot, and never runs out of ammunition as long as the ship has power and cooling. For the drone problem, it was the perfect solution, and the U.S. Navy had been quietly developing exactly this for years. If you're learning something you never knew about the U.S. Navy, do us one favor: hit subscribe. It's free, and it means everything. Meet HELIOS, the Navy's laser. The weapon that fires light. The most advanced laser weapon currently deployed on a frontline U.S. Navy warship has a name: HELIOS. It stands for High Energy Laser with Integrated Optical Dazzler and Surveillance. And fittingly, Helios is also the name of the Greek god of the sun. Helios was developed by the defense company Lockheed Martin, which won the contract to build it back in January 2018. It is a high-energy laser weapon designed to intercept combat drones, aircraft, and even certain missiles, and it represents the most powerful laser deployed on a frontline U.S. Navy ship to date. So how powerful is it? HELIOS is described as a high-energy laser operating in the range of around 60 kilowatts, with a modular design that can be expanded to operate between 60 and 120 kilowatts. That modularity is important. It means the system can be scaled up in power as the technology matures, without replacing the entire weapon. But HELIOS is more than just a laser. The name tells you it does two other things beyond burning targets. The optical dazzler part means it can also disrupt and blind the optical sensors of enemy drones and other threats. A softer, non-destructive effect that can neutralize a threat without physically destroying it. And the surveillance part means the system doubles as a long-range sensor, using its optics to detect and track targets across the sky. It is a weapon, a sensor jammer, and a surveillance tool, all in one integrated package. Here is what makes HELIOS genuinely powerful as a combat system. It does not operate alone. It is integrated directly into the ship's Aegis combat system, the sophisticated network of radars and fire control computers that runs a modern U.S. Navy destroyer. This means HELIOS can use the ship's existing radar and targeting data to detect a threat, track it, and engage it automatically, all within the framework the crew already uses to fight the ship. The laser becomes just another weapon the combat system can call upon, as natural to the ship's defense as its missiles and guns. The system is currently installed aboard the USS Preble, an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer, which has carried HELIOS since 2022. For now, the Preble remains the only Navy ship carrying this specific weapon. Other Arleigh Burke-class destroyers have received a lower-powered laser system called Odin, the optical dazzling interdictor, which is intended mainly to disrupt enemy sensors rather than physically destroy targets. As of a recent count, the Navy had 8 Odin dazzlers integrated across its destroyer fleet. There is also an even more powerful demonstrator, a 150-kilowatt laser weapon system demonstrator, installed on a San Antonio-class amphibious transport ship, used to push the technology to higher power levels. But it was the HELIOS aboard the USS Preble that would make history. The day the laser proved itself. 4 drones, 1 beam. For years, laser weapons lived under a cloud of doubt. Skeptics questioned whether they would ever work reliably in the real world, whether a beam of light could actually shoot down a moving target at sea in the conditions a warship faces. Then the USS Preble answered that question. The progression tells the story. In a test in 2024, the USS Preble used its HELIOS system to shoot down a single drone, a milestone disclosed in a Pentagon operational testing report released in January 2025. It proved the weapon could hit an aerial target. But a single drone is one thing. Real combat means facing many threats at once. So the Navy pushed further. In a demonstration during 2025, publicly disclosed in early 2026, the USS Preble used HELIOS to shoot down not 1, but 4 separate drones during a counter-drone exercise at sea. This was the breakthrough. It was the first time a naval laser weapon had neutralized multiple airborne threats in a single demonstration. And it was the first publicly confirmed use of a ship-mounted laser to engage airborne targets during an operational demonstration by the U.S. Navy. The company that built it described the moment plainly. Lockheed Martin's chief executive, speaking during a quarterly earnings call, said they had successfully used the shipboard laser to knock an incoming drone right out of the sky. The company confirmed that HELIOS had successfully neutralized 4 drone threats in a Navy-operated counter-drone demonstration at sea. Why does downing 4 drones matter so much more than 1? Because it demonstrates the exact capability the Navy needs most, the ability to handle a swarm. A single drone is a manageable threat, but the nightmare scenario is many cheap drones attacking at once, trying to overwhelm the ship. By showing that HELIOS could engage 4 separate targets in one demonstration, The Navy proved the laser could do what expensive missiles struggle to do affordably. Keep engaging target after target without running out of ammunition, without burning through million-dollar interceptors. This is the whole promise of the laser realized. Each shot from HELIOS costs a tiny fraction of a missile. Some estimates put the cost per laser shot at just a few dollars of electricity. Against a swarm of cheap drones, that changes everything. The economic equation that once favored the attacker now favors the defender. The Navy can shoot down a $35,000 drone for the cost of a cup of coffee's worth of power, and do it again and again and again. The 4-drone demonstration proved the technology was real. But the true test was still to come, in actual combat. Before we continue, and the next section reveals how this laser weapon was actually used in real combat off the coast of Iran, please hit that like button and subscribe right now. Over 95% of people watching have not subscribed yet. It costs nothing and helps us keep bringing you these stories about the US Navy that nobody else is telling. Let's keep going. Lasers in real combat. From the test range to the battlefield. Everything we have discussed so far was testing and demonstration. But in 2026, the US Navy laser weapon crossed the line that every new weapon must eventually cross, from the test range into actual combat. According to multiple reports, the USS Preble, carrying its HELIOS laser, was deployed off the coast of Iran during a military operation, and the laser was used against real enemy drones. Reports indicated that HELIOS engaged Iranian drones during this deployment, marking what would be the first known combat use of a high-energy shipboard laser in this conflict. The targets were exactly the kind of threat the laser was designed to defeat: low-cost Shahed-style attack drones and small aerial threats operating in the Gulf region. Footage released showed an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer equipped with the steerable high-energy laser operating off Iran's coast. Think about the significance of this moment. For decades, laser weapons were a promise, always described as the weapon of the future, always a few years away. And now, a US Navy warship was using one in a genuine combat environment, against a genuine enemy, defending itself and its mission with a beam of light. The future had become the present. The combat application makes perfect sense when you consider the situation. In a place like the Gulf, where an adversary can launch cheap drones repeatedly, the ability to shoot them down at almost no cost, without depleting the ship's precious missile magazines, is an enormous advantage. Every drone the laser destroys is a missile saved for a more serious threat. As Lockheed Martin's executive put it, using lasers to eliminate drone attacks saves the US Navy's and its allies' air defense missiles for more advanced threats. This is the layered defense concept the Navy has been building toward. The laser handles the cheap, close-in threats, the drones and small targets, while the expensive missiles are held in reserve for the fastest, most dangerous incoming weapons. It is a smarter, more sustainable way to defend a warship, and it only becomes possible with a weapon like HELIOS that can fire endlessly and cheaply. The Navy's top leadership has taken clear notice. The service's senior officers have publicly stated that their goal is for directed energy weapons, lasers, to become the go-to choice for warship crews defending against close-in threats. In other words, the Navy does not see the laser as an experiment anymore. It sees it as the future front line of ship defense. How a laser actually works. The science of shooting with light. So how does a laser weapon actually destroy a drone? The concept is elegant, and understanding it reveals both the power and the limits of this remarkable technology. A laser weapon works by concentrating an enormous amount of energy into a tightly focused beam of light and holding that beam on a single point of the target. Unlike a missile, which physically slams into a target, or a gun, which fires a physical projectile, the laser delivers pure energy. It heats the target with such intensity that critical components melt, burn, or fail. On a drone, the beam might burn through the airframe, destroy the control surfaces, or fry the electronics, sending it tumbling out of the sky. The two effects of a system like HELIOS reflect two ways to defeat a target. The hard kill applies focused thermal energy to physically damage or destroy the target, literally burning it out of the air. The soft kill uses the dazzler to blind or disrupt the target's optical sensors, neutralizing it without physical destruction. Together, they give the ship options depending on the threat. The advantages of this approach are profound. First, speed. A laser travels at the speed of light, meaning there is essentially no travel time between firing and impact. There is no need to lead a moving target the way a gun does, no flight time for the enemy to maneuver away. When the beam is on target, it is on target instantly. Second, cost. Because the ammunition is simply electricity, each shot is extraordinarily cheap compared to a missile. As long as the ship generates enough power and can manage the heat the system produces, the laser can keep firing. Third, the magazine is effectively unlimited. A missile launcher holds a finite number of missiles. When they are gone until the ship can rearm, which at sea is difficult or impossible. A laser has no such limit. Its magazine is as deep as the ship's power supply. In a place where resupply is difficult, that is a decisive advantage. But lasers also have real limitations, and honesty requires acknowledging them. A laser needs a great deal of electrical power and generates a great deal of heat, so the ship must be able to supply both power and cooling. Atmospheric conditions matter. Fog, dust, rain, and turbulent air can scatter and weaken a laser beam, reducing its effectiveness. And a laser must hold its beam on a target for a period of time to burn through it, unlike a missile that destroys on impact. Against very fast or heavily built targets, that dwell time becomes a challenge. This is why lasers are not replacing missiles and guns, they are joining them. The laser handles what it does best: cheap, close-in threats like drones. The missiles and guns handle the threats the laser cannot yet defeat. Layered together, they make a warship far harder to overwhelm than any single weapon could. Here is a genuine question, and I want your honest answer. Do you think laser weapons will eventually replace missiles and guns on US Navy warships entirely, or will they always be just one part of a layered defense? Where do you think naval warfare is heading? Drop your answer in the comments below. We read every single one. Why lasers need a whole new kind of warship? Here is a challenge that most people never think about when they imagine laser weapons, and it is the single biggest obstacle standing between the US Navy and a fleet armed with powerful lasers. Power. A high-energy laser consumes an enormous amount of electricity. To burn a drone out of the sky, the system needs to generate, store, and release a tremendous surge of energy, and then do it again for the next target, and the next. The more powerful the laser, the more electrical power it demands. And here is the problem. Most existing US Navy warships were never designed to generate that kind of surplus electrical power. A traditional destroyer like an Arleigh Burke was built with its power budget carefully allocated to its engines, its radars, its combat systems, and everything else the ship needs to function. There simply is not a huge amount of spare electrical capacity left over to run a powerful laser continuously. This is why the current systems, like the 60-kilowatt HELIOS, operate at the power levels they do. It is partly what the existing ships can support. To field truly powerful lasers, the kind that could reliably shoot down not just drones but fast cruise missiles, the Navy needs warships designed from the ground up around electrical power. And this is exactly where naval design is heading. Remember the USS Zumwalt, the Navy's futuristic stealth destroyer? Its integrated electric propulsion system generates around 78 megawatts of electrical power, comparable to a nuclear aircraft carrier. Ships built around that kind of electrical architecture are far better suited to powering high-energy directed energy weapons. The future warships of the U.S. Navy are being designed with exactly this in mind: abundant electrical power that can be redirected, on demand, into weapons like lasers. This points to a profound shift in how warships are conceived. For most of naval history, a ship's fighting power was measured in guns and missiles, physical weapons firing physical projectiles. The warship of the future may be measured increasingly in megawatts. The ship that can generate the most electrical power may be the ship that can field the most powerful directed energy weapons, lasers, and eventually other energy weapons beyond them. The Navy is also working on the supporting technology that makes lasers practical: better cooling systems to manage the immense heat, better beam control to hold the laser steady on a distant, moving target across turbulent air, and better integration with the ship's sensors and combat systems. Each of these is a difficult engineering problem, and the Navy has openly acknowledged that fielding operational laser weapons has come with significant hurdles. But the direction is unmistakable. The U.S. Navy is not treating lasers as a curiosity. It is reshaping the future of its fleet around the electrical power that these weapons demand, because the leadership believes directed energy is where naval defense is going. The future of naval warfare. What comes next? The laser weapon aboard the USS Preble is not the end of the story. It is the very beginning. And the trajectory of this technology points toward a genuine transformation in how the United States Navy will fight at sea. Consider where things stand today. One frontline destroyer carries a powerful combat laser. A handful of others carry lower-powered dazzlers. A demonstrator pushes the technology toward higher power. This is the early stage of a technology, the equivalent of the first few examples of a weapon that will, in time, spread across the fleet. The Navy's vision is clear. Its top officers have said they want directed energy weapons to become the standard, go-to choice for warship crews defending against close-in threats. That means a future where lasers are not a rare experimental fitting on a single ship, but a common weapon aboard destroyers, cruisers, and amphibious ships across the fleet. A future where every warship can defend itself against drone swarms without depleting its missiles. And the power levels will climb. Today's frontline laser operates around 60 kilowatts. The demonstrator reaches 150 kilowatts. As the technology matures, and as new ships are built with the electrical capacity to support them, the Navy envisions lasers powerful enough to defeat not just slow drones, but faster, tougher threats, potentially even certain incoming missiles. The modular design of systems like HELIOS is specifically built to allow this scaling up in power over time. There is a broader strategic picture here too. The nature of threats at sea is changing. Cheap drones, launched in large numbers, have become one of the defining challenges of modern naval warfare, as the Navy's own experiences in the Red Sea and the Gulf have shown. Against that threat, a defense based purely on expensive missiles is not sustainable. The laser is the answer the Navy has been searching for. A weapon whose cost per shot is so low that it flips the economics of drone warfare back in the defender's favor. The USS Preble, firing its laser off the coast of Iran, is a glimpse of the warship of the future. A vessel that defends itself not just with steel and explosives, but with concentrated beams of light, fired at the speed of light, for pennies per shot, in unlimited quantity as long as the ship has power. It is a change as significant in its way as the shift from cannon to guided missile. And the United States Navy is at the forefront of it. Climax: what it all means. The beam that changes everything. When you step back and look at the full picture, the drone threat, the cost problem, the breakthrough aboard the USS Preble, the combat off Iran, and the future the Navy is building, you arrive at a realization about how profoundly naval warfare is changing. For the entire history of naval combat, defense has been a race of resources. A ship carried a finite number of shells, then a finite number of missiles. Every threat it faced depleted that finite supply. And an enemy who could throw enough threats at a ship, enough to exhaust its magazines, could eventually break through. Quantity had a power all its own. The laser breaks that logic. For the first time, a warship has a weapon whose ammunition is effectively unlimited and whose cost per shot is almost nothing. As long as the ship has power, the laser keeps firing. A swarm of cheap drones that would once exhaust a ship's defenses can now be met, one after another, by a weapon that never runs dry and never runs up a bill. The defender's greatest weakness, the finite magazine, is, for the first time, on its way to being solved. That is why the leaders of the US Navy are so focused on this technology. It is not just a new gadget. It is a solution to a problem that had begun to look unsolvable. The problem of defending expensive warships against cheap, swarming threats. And the sailors aboard ships like the USS Preble are the first to operate it in the real world, learning to fight with a weapon that most navies still only dream of. Think about what those sailors are actually doing. They are standing watch aboard a warship in a combat zone, operating a weapon that fires beams of light to swat enemy drones out of the sky. A capability that belonged, until moments ago in historical terms, entirely to science fiction. And it is only the beginning. As the power levels rise, as the technology spreads across the fleet, as new ships are built around the electrical power these weapons demand, the beam of light reaching out from the deck of a US Navy warship will become one of the defining images of modern naval power. The age of the laser weapon has arrived, and the United States Navy is leading the world into it. One drone, one beam, one warship at a time. The next time you picture a US Navy destroyer defending itself, do not just imagine missiles and guns. Imagine a silent, invisible beam of concentrated light reaching out across the water, and an enemy drone falling from the sky. If this video showed you something new about the United States Navy and its most advanced weapons, hit that like button right now and subscribe so you never miss what we cover next. Next week, we are going inside how US Navy destroyers shoot down ballistic missiles traveling at thousands of miles per hour. The incredible technology that intercepts a warhead at the edge of space. You will not want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.